So, let the moving life begin. My name is Janie, I'm a mother of one and our family is moving to Norway. In another video we've gone through the legal bits and bobs of how we're moving to Norway in terms of visas and permits. Today I'm going to take you through the logistical side of things. So how are we moving all our possessions from the UK to Norway? So if you're planning to make this move to Norway specifically, it will be heavily geared towards that country, but even if you're going to a different country, stick around, have a look, maybe there'll be something that you find useful as well. Before we dive in, if you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I'll be posting on relocation, immigration, settling in Norway, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Either is equally cool. It'll be anything and everything about what we encounter during this whole journey, frankly. Otherwise, let's dive in. So let me kick this off with a little situation assessment. Whenever you're making a move, wherever it may be, there are really two things you need to think about. The type of move you're doing and the budget. The type of move being, are you going to a different country, so cross-border, or are you sticking within your country? Are you moving all your furniture, part your furniture, or just with suitcases? All of that will decide essentially the size of the move and what kind of help you're gonna need, which in turn then informs your budget. So to give you an idea about our situation, or how we've modeled it based on these assessments, is that we're doing a cross-border move from UK to Norway. We are moving all of our furniture and all of our belongings. So we're doing cross-border and volume-wise quite sizable. And that in turn then informs our budget, which cannot be just a couple £100, but it is not gonna go into the tens of thousands either. Budget is also gonna be decided essentially by the money you have available. And it may be that you also do a different country move, but you're limited on money, so you need to shop around for relocators or you decide to do it yourself. But before you start any sort of shopping around for relocation companies, if that's the route you're taking, these are the two things that you will need to know, because relocation companies will ask, where are you going? How much you moving? And then they'll give you the quotation and you'll just have to compare it to your budget. But that's essentially what we start with, a little situation assessment. So we're going with a relocation company, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the why in a moment, why we're not doing it ourselves but going with somebody else. But there are three companies that we've essentially looked at: Britannia, Pickfords and Simpsons. All three of these support a move to Norway. Now, Norway is a very specific case when it comes to moving. It is not entirely part of the European Union. It has very specific importation rules. And from the research I've done, not every company is willing to go through that or have the expertise to go through that. So we've gone for these three. Now, the reason being that Britannia is coming up the most whenever looking for relocation companies. They have a 4.6 star rating on Trustpilot as well, so very well rated. And it's just a very well-known name. So that's one of the contenders we had. Then we went for Pickfords. Pickfords is the company we used to move from Manchester to Newport, and it was a really good experience. There was some damage to the goods on arrival, but nothing that would bother me too much, and it is a risk with any move. They have a 4.7 star rating on Trustpilot, so also not bad. And a new contender we've explored this time was Simpsons. Simpsons has also 4.6 star rating on Trustpilot, and they also support a move to Norway, and generally the reviews there were quite good. And all the time, whenever we've done a move, my partner and I, we've always had at least three contenders, which gave us a healthy options and healthy amount of comparison. But these are the three guys that I'm going to be focusing on in this video: Britannia, Pickfords and Simpsons. And I'll be telling you about the quotations we got, about the services included in those quotations, and who did we actually choose from these three. Now for the why we're actually choosing a relocation company and not doing it ourselves. is a matter of convenience. The importation rules to Norway seem to be very complex. Norway isn't entirely part of the EU, and as far as I understand, that does complicate things. And from what the company shared with me, they actually gave me a full list of requirements to move domestic goods, and I'll plonk it here. I wouldn't have known probably half of these, and some of these I wouldn't have found out until filling in the paperwork, at which point it would further delay the whole process. So having an expert who knows these things, who does that on a daily basis, helps massively to reduce any mistakes, any stresses, any complications. It's just good. It also helps that they will pack our things as part of the process, because they have to. They have to make an inventory for the import. And so that takes another load of work off our shoulders from having to pack our stuff, which we have amassed over the past many years. Admittedly, it is more expensive to move with a relocation company. When you do the move on your own without a relocation company, on paper, it will likely look cheaper, because all you need to really look at is buying the packing materials, hiring a truck, potentially paying for storage, renting a container, and shipping, right? Assuming there will be no custom duties on import. So on paper it may look cheaper, but as a private individual doing the move, you may pay for it in your time that you can assign a monetary value to, but majority of people don't. But you will end up looking things up and making sure that there are no difficulties and no hiccups during the move. Whereas with a relocation company, all of that is already paid for. Every little thing that consists of the move has a monetary value, and that should be the case because you're paying people for their job, right? There are, however, still challenges even when choosing a relocation company, specifically with Norway. Specifically with Norway, it can take 2 to 5 weeks going part load. Now, part load meaning that your volume that you move in isn't big enough to fill in a container. So you essentially need to wait for a container that has enough space for your stuff. And so the 2 to 5 week waiting period is that amount of waiting plus the shipping time plus the delivery. So it stretches the amount of time you'll be without stuff. There's also a dedicated service. Some of companies offer a dedicated service, which drastically shortens the time to about 10 days. What that means is they'll pack, pick up, and ship almost straight away. Either air freight or renting a container solely dedicated to your stuff. So even if you have like a third full, you're paying for air, essentially. And so that's a bit challenging, to be honest. And then there's the whole importation process and some requirements. Specifically with Norway, you need to have a Norwegian ID to do that import. Now, there are ways around it if you're a private individual. If you're a couple, one of you can go ahead and get a Norwegian ID, and then you initiate the move. If you're on your own, that makes things a bit more logistically difficult. But that's why we go in with a relocation company. It's the convenience of it, and it's the fact that it'll save us time. So we've gone through the situation assessment, what kind of move it is we're going to be doing. We then looked at the 3 contenders that we have selected and why we're actually thinking about going for a relocation company rather than doing the move ourselves. So let's talk money now. And the quotation process is pretty straightforward with any relocation company. What they'll ask to do is a survey. So one of their surveyors will give you a call on a dedicated app, a video call, so that they can see your place and the stuff that you're moving. They will be making a list of the possessions that you'll be moving, along with like how many boxes you would need to pack it, and that will form the basis of the quote. So the quote will include the amount. It will also include, for our case, moving to Norway, the packing time, the packing materials, transportation, insurance. So all of these quotes include those. There may be some extra services, and every relocation company has different extra services, but these are the basis for our quotes. And so to give you the ballparks of what we got, Britannia quoted us 11,000 for a part load move. Pickfords quoted us 7,500 for part load move, and Simpsons quoted us 8,500 for part load and 12,000 for dedicated. So you can see it is not the cheapest. To give you a point of comparison, our move from Manchester to Newport costed us, if I remember correctly, about £3,000. Still not cheap, but much cheaper than going to Norway. But those are the figures we're working with, and mind you, this is just a ballpark. It's not a specific number because there's no need to go that specific here. But these are the numbers we're working with based on these conditions that they'll come and pack, pick up, load, ship, and deliver. So who is our winner? Our winner is dun, 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 Simpsons. So you might be asking, why did you go for Simpsons if you have experience with Pickfords? So Pickfords is a great company. We really enjoyed our experience with them from Manchester to Newport. But when I engaged them about a move to Norway, the service seemed different. Now, I don't know if it was about the agent I was dealing with, but it didn't strike me as very knowledgeable or very open to share information. Whereas Simpsons, bless their souls, they have answered all my questions, even providing me with that screenshot I showed you, discussing with me information I found on the Norwegian customs website, really being there and taking me through the process step by step and giving me all the information and sharing with me all the details that I needed to know. Like, they have been gold in that. And so that kind of pushed them across the finish line. The costs, we will likely go for part load, but it's the service, it's the level of service and the trust they managed to build. There will be 3 people dedicated to the move, a front desk you could call, who will be in direct contact with us and will work as a point of contact within Simpsons. Then there will be another member solely dedicated to the logistical side of things, so moving the goods, and another person dealing with the paperwork. So already a team of 3 people solely dedicated to a move is just very assuring, because the more eyes you have on these things, the less likelihood that there will be a mistake or a hiccup. And so we are more than happy to go with Simpsons, and they continue providing good customer service. Now, we haven't signed any acceptance letter. We haven't booked time with them yet. We haven't really sealed the deal, as so to say, but they keep on attending to us as if we had. And I find that very reassuring, and it says a lot to me at this point about the kind of service that we will receive. Mind you, they might just be doing it because we haven't sealed the deal and they want to encourage us to seal the deal, and once we do seal the deal, things may be different. But this is what it is like at the moment, and that's why we have chosen to go with them. Finally, let's talk recommendations, right? So what can I recommend for you to do if you're making a move? Always run your contenders by Trustpilot or any other review service, Google reviews, before you even engage them. You want to know other people's experience with these companies so that you can filter out the baddies from the goodies, because you don't want to engage a bad company to then find out that they're not worth your time. If you press for time like we are, be targeted, be focused, go to Trustpilot. And when you do, select at least 2 contenders. If you have a certain budget, like we did, like pretty much anybody does when it comes to a move like this, you want to shop around, and so you want to have those options. So we generally go for 3 options because that seems like a healthy amount. It's not too many, it's not too little, it gives you a good price point. And so 2 at least, 3 ideal in my experience, but go for more if you can, if you want. The process is very short and straightforward, so it's not going to take you too much time, and you can shop around that way. Now, specifically if you're doing part shipment, so if you're not shipping all your possessions but only some of the things, because maybe the flat or the place that you moved into was part furnished, so you had to buy some furniture or whatnot, when you do the survey, highlight the bits that you are shipping. What I did when we did that part shipment from Manchester to Newport is I put pink post-it notes on every piece of furniture and thing that we were moving with us. And that helped the surveyor, one, to see it clearly right off the bat during the call, and two, to see it on the video when he was doing the list of the possessions. Like, he could refer to it and immediately see what it is we were taking. And that's going to assure that the quotation you're going to get is going to be as specific as it possibly can. Another bit of information or a recommendation is try and get the quotation done close to your relocation time. So we did our quotations in January, but we're not going to be moving until May, June, potentially July. So the quotation we got in January may be very different to the quotation we're going to have to get again closer to our relocation time. Simply because the time between January and May, if that's the earliest we're going to be moving, is 5 months. And the shipping costs change quite a bit on bi-weekly basis. So the costs in May may already be different, and if they are drastically different, I'll do another video, like an update on that. But if they aren't, they're great. We already have the costs, we know what we're working with. But be aware of that. If you get a quotation, try and get it closer to your time. Another bit, companies generally need 2 to 3 weeks notice of your move. So when I say get your quotation closer to your move time, don't get it like 2 days before, because you're probably not going to have the time. Get it a month before. Generally, quotations have 30 days validity or 28 days validity. So get it within that. If you know you're moving at the end of May, get it in the beginning of May or end of April. But allow yourself that month, because they will need 2 to 3 weeks to get their ducks in a row to make sure the move happens. But that's about it really when it comes to recommendations. Of course, if you have any questions, I mean, do ask, because I may have forgotten something or it may not be quite clear. But yeah, that's it for the recommendations. That's it, guys. I hope you found the video today on relocation useful and that it gave you some tips and tricks and information to go off of. If it did, amazing. Hit the like button. If it didn't, and you didn't like what you saw, which is absolutely fair, there's the, thumbs down. Do hit them. Otherwise, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because I will be releasing more content on this whole move and this crazy thing we're doing. So if you don't want to miss out, hit those buttons. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next one.